Well, hey everyone, and welcome to another YouTube tutorial series. This one is going to be on a character selection screen. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and here we're going to make a UI where we can put three buttons. There'll be one on the left and then one on the right of an image in the middle, which would be our character that we're going to choose. And then in the bottom, somewhere in the corner, maybe we'll have another button that'll allow us that when we click on it, we'll be able to take that character that we chose into another scene. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So first we'll go ahead and create a script. And we're going to call it character. And this is actually going to be a scriptable object. Double click it. And we'll wait for Visual Studio to pop up. Reason we want to make it a scriptable object is because it'll allow us to create these characters ahead of time in the project and allow us to add them some more later on if you so choose to do so. A little bit to load. Boom. There we go. Now we have our character class. What we can do is get to coding it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're not going to need a start and an update. Take that out. What we will need now though is create asset menu. And set the menu name to character. It's just going to be a generic kind of character, and we can change in all the data with it. So for this tutorial, we're just going to have four simple little public variables. We'll have public int level, starting level, it'll be set to 1. We'll have public string, the name that we want to call the character. We'll have a public string description, and we'll have public and a sprite, just so we can see its sprite. Fine, and we'll have an init function, so we can kind of initialize the data if we want to be able to set up a new instance of this character class in the code, rather than having to drag it in from the project. So this will be scriptable object, okay, like that. So init, then it'll be level, it'll be string name, string description, pass in the sprite. Inside of here, we're just gonna go ahead, set all these variables up. So this dot level, set level, and then name, capital L. Here, so this dot level, this dot name, description, set to description. This dot sprite is gonna be set sprite. Guessed it. Okay, so that's all that our character class is going to do. That's it. It just defines what the character is and holds its data. What we'll do now is we'll go back to Unity. Let it compile. We're going to go ahead inside the hierarchy over here, or whichever side it's on for you. And then we'll right click, create, character. Now we have a character scriptable object. So I'm getting ready to drag in some sprites into the project. There'll be 2 sprites. And we can just name this whatever. We'll do male we'll just do like the male character. We'll just put male. It'll be level 1. We'll give him a name. Name will be Bob. Description. You notice how the description, let's say you want to actually put like full-on sentences and you want to get really creative with this and have different classes and things like that, and you want to have a specific description for it. You can go in here and right above the description, you can go ahead and put this, what's known as an attribute, and you can put in multi-line. Save it, go back to the project, and what that's going to do is this is going to change into a text box. Bam. So now you got all this as well as new line. You can hit the enter key for new line character. So it's really awesome. So now we need to go ahead and set up a sprite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag in the sprite that I created. And we'll go ahead and set this sprite up to where the texture type is a sprite. It is a multiple sprite. Pixels per unit will be 16 because each cell in here is 16 pixels. We want to leave clamp on. We want to set that to point no filter because it is pixel art. The max size will be 64, which is the bigger of the sizes of one of these 2. So if you have like a 128 by 64, you'd put 128 here. Leave that alone. Automatic. Set compression to none. Hit apply. Go into the sprite editor. We'll go to slice. Set it to grid by cell size. Change the cells to 16 because each one of these little guys is 16. You hit slice. Apply. And now you got all these different sprites of this person. Close it. And to verify, there's a little guy. Well, he's going to be one of the selections. So we'll grab that one. Click it here. My name is... So like his description would be, my name is Bob. I am a human. Okay, so this is saved inside of the project. So if you're creating a game and in the very beginning you go from the main menu to a character selection screen and you want the player to be able to choose between multiple different characters to play the game with, this is one of the characters you would load up into the list. The Bob is one of them. So let's go ahead and we'll create another one. This one, character, and then we'll call this one will just be this one female. You can name these whatever you want. I'm just naming a male, female, because these are like the starting characters. You could say name and then Bonnie. So Bob and Bonnie. My name is Bonnie. I am a human. And then her sprite, you can click here too. We didn't bring hers in yet, so I'm gonna drag hers in. If you downloaded the project, this will already be in there for you, and all this will be set up. But it's good practice to learn how. Same thing, right? Multiple, 16, no point, 64, none. Apply. Come into here, we're going to slice it by grid size, 16 by 16, slice, apply, done. And you can come into the female, you can go into here and choose, I want the female, so here she is. There, now you have the male, and now you have the female. Well, that's really cool. So we got all the characters set up, we got all the data and everything set up. What we need to do is, now we want to go ahead and get the UI set up. And then we can go ahead and start plugging in this data, and then from there we can start displaying it. So let's see, let's go ahead and do that then. So we'll come into here, we'll get the UI prepared. So we'll go to create empty, and we're gonna call it character select. We'll just call it character select. It's just an empty game object, character select. It's just gonna hold a script. Enter. And then what we'll do is we're gonna come into here, save it, create another script, and we're gonna call it character select. This will be a model behavior, and it will be attached to this object. This is going to be the class that's going to have references to the UI elements, and it's going to put the data to the elements to know what happens when you click a button in this and everything. So we'll leave this here. Bam. Okay. What are some of the things we're going to need for the character select? Well, let's go ahead and get into that. Okay. So first of all, what we're going to want is we want to set a private variable to a character instance called selected character. What is this? The reference to, this will be the reference to the selected character. This is the reference to the selected character when we're going to click the button that says, hey, this is the character I choose to go into our next scene with, or our game. This is going to hold a reference to it. That's what this is for. And so we can actually use it inside of the inspector. We're going to serialize the field. So now, if you try to use character select anywhere as an instance and try to grab this character, you can't, but inside the inspector you can assign it, and that's what we want. This character select is just so we can interact with the UI elements. It should just be used from in the inspector. So then now we're going to have a private list of characters, and we're going to call it characters. And then we'll go ahead and serialize this field as well. That way we can go ahead and assign this list. This is going to be the reference to all possible user character selections. So like if you have 5 units the player can pick from, this would be a list of those 5. That's essentially what it is. And then we're going to want to be able to go and toggle through with those buttons we're going to set up through this list. So when we click a button, it'll change the sprite to a different character. If we check the left button, it should go back a character. This is what the reference we're getting ready to set up here is for. We're going to do private, because inside this list, we need to know which index we're at. So we're going to do int current character index, do current viewed character index. So the current one that we're looking at, that's what we want there. Now here, what we're going to do is we're going to put public int character index. We're going to make a property. We're making it a property because we're going to want to do something special whenever this character index number gets changed. What is it that we're going to want to do? Well, we're going to want to return this .current index for sure. That's all we want to do. Well, what we want to do, we want to privately set this. We don't want this to be set anywhere else in the code, just within this class. And what we're going to do is, we're going to go ahead when we set it, we're just going to do this .current character index is set to the value. Cool. Well, what we want to do is if current character index is less than 0, we want to set, oh wait, we need to keep it consistent, so we'll do this. So if it's less than 0, if we keep clicking the left button, and eventually it gets outside of the list, I personally want it to loop back around. So I'm going to do this dot current index is going to be set to this dot characters list dot count -1. Reason we do this is if you have 2 characters in the list is going to be a count of 2, but it's indexed at index 0 and index 1. So if it's the count is 2 minus 1 is 1, so the index would be 1. So if it's currently less than 0, hurry up, and I want you to set it to actually whatever the last index of that list is. So loop back to the end character of the list. Else, if this dot current index is greater than this dot characters count, if it just goes way out of bounds, -1, then what we're going to do is we're going to set this dot current index back to 0. So we're going to loop it back to the first element. So if you keep clicking right and you're already at the last character, we're going to loop back to the first character. That's what this does. And then we're going to call a special function in here that says, hey, we want to go and update what's going to happen in the UI. We selected another character, we want to show its details. So this will be implemented. So what we're going to do now is we can take start and void out for now. Now we're going to do some variables real quick. What we want is we want a private button and a left arrow button. This is going to be a reference to the button when we press left. Now this button here is going to give you an error. That's because we're not using the right namespace. We need using UnityEngine.ui. That'll fix it. Boom. So we're going to want that, and we want to serialize it because we want to drag in this button from the inspector. I'm going to serialize that. And then we're also going to want a serialize field of another button. It's going to be the right arrow button. Well, right button. Doesn't have to be an arrow. So, because we're not going to have arrows, we're just going to have generic buttons, but you can call them whatever you want. So left button, right button. Then we're going to have the serialize field for the select button. Yeah. That's going to be those 3 buttons. That's what we want. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make another serialized field of, this one's going to be private. It's going to be a text. Character level. This is going to be text displayed for the character's level. So we want that. We can actually copy this and paste it 2 more times. And instead of character level, it's going to be character name, character description. Then we can do 1 more, but this one is actually going to be an image. And it's going to be character right. And there we go. So this is what it's going to be for now. And I will go ahead in the inspector and look. Load, and it loaded. So now that you can see, we can come into here. We don't have a current selected character because we haven't. But characters, we actually have 2 characters we can do. But we're going to go and put them inside the next video. So I'm going to stop the first video here. The next one is going to be on actually creating the UI, putting everything into here, and then we can tell the buttons what to do and how things get assigned. So for now, I hope you enjoyed the first one, and I will go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed one. Alright. Later.